very fast time after now the Kenya Kwanza regime got into power in March, the Azimio protest, where journalists got brutally injured by police. So just paint for us the picture. We know there is the freedom of the media, freedom of expression enshrined in the Constitution. And so then, when the journalists complain of being hurt, so where was action not taken?
I think we're in a situation where we are currently looking at an interplay between freedom of expression and freedom of the press itself. And our Constitution, our drafters were very wise to think of it in two ways: to not only protect the freedom of expression, but also to protect the freedom of the press in its own particular article. And when you look at Article 34 of the Constitution, it speaks very clearly on what government role, what government's role in at least facilitating the press is. And it is also very clear on the limitations of what government can do, and it is also very clear on what government should not do. An example is government should not exert or even attempt to exert any control or interfere with how media or how the press conducts its business. And actually, it is reprimandable when the state attempts to exert control. So we are seeing different kinds of control in this particular case. Number one, we are seeing some sort of economic or financial control with the line that the CS industrialization is going with. And we're also seeing, during the Azimio protest, now we see some sort of police power or police brutality that is now being exerted not just on ordinary civilians, but also on the press who are reporting on the problems that the civilians are facing.
Right.
So it's a question of when will we start to fully enforce our Constitution? Because we seem to enforce it in certain areas, but certain areas we also just seem to lie down. So it's a question of how long will we take before we finally accept that the whole of the Constitution needs to be implemented, not just at certain areas which maybe favor certain people at certain times. So Article 33, freedom of speech for each and every person.
Right.
Article 34, freedom of the press. Article 27, no discrimination, no discriminating on certain parties because of maybe you perceive that they are doing things in a way that you don't like. Or even going further to something like Article 75, where we are saying leadership, persons in positions of authority should behave in a certain way, and if they do not, then their conduct is really unbecoming of a leader, and there are circumstances which they're supposed to be removed. So it's a question of when will we finally take charge and implement of the whole of the Constitution.
Right.
Yes.
And I believe we have a clip, Mr. Director, if we can play that.